All right, welcome to the Agent Alchemy podcast, where we interview top producers from around the country on their best practices and strategies. Today we have Andy Hasdal. He's a local broker here in Chicago and a friend of mine. Andy, thank you so much for jumping on. Really appreciate it. And why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit and let everyone know who you are?
Like Tori said, Andy Hasdal. I've been an agent in Chicago here since 2010. I started off leasing apartments for the first, that was the majority of my business for the first 5 years. I was at a small brokerage downtown. I joined a team in 2016 at Properties. Was there for 2 years. Then we moved over to our Keller Williams office that opened up in Lakeview in the beginning of 2018. And then I've been there ever since. We've formed our three offices in Chicago here. Lakeview, Lincoln Park, O'Hare have all formed one. So it's Keller Williams, one Chicago. I've been there ever since the merger. So that's like total Keller Williams, like 5.5 years now.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good amount of shops in about 3 years. How's your business evolved over the past 13 years? So that's a pretty good tenure. And for the clarity, like, this is for my own education as much as it is for everyone watching this too. Like, I'm trying to learn and evolve my skill set. And I'm just curious how your strategies and things have changed. Because going from leasing apartments to what you're doing now is incredible.
Right. Yeah. So my my journey's kind of been a long one. I probably could have moved faster, but you kind of hesitate to make moves when you're kind of comfortable where you're sitting. So when I first started leasing, I was just part-time, wasn't sure what I was going to do. This was 2010. I graduated grad school in '08. I was in urban planning and policy major for undergrad and graduate school at UIC. I went to grad school, UC, so Urbana-Champaign for undergrad. But I moved up to Chicago in 2006, went to grad school, graduated that in 2008, couldn't find work. Everything was, it was terrible. People getting laid off. I was trying to get some internships. I was doing free internships, like just unpaid, and these companies were folding. It was not great. So a friend of a friend opened up a brokerage around that time, and I thought I need to do something, So like a lot of people kind of fell into it, but I always thought real estate would kind of be something I would get involved with in some degree. Like growing up, my dad had flipped a few places. I was always interested in, like, we built a house when I was like in 8th grade, and so I was always watching that process. So I liked following along with all that. So it was always kind of like a backup. And then when the economy just was tanked, it was like, well, seems like a good time to give it a shot. So when I started, I was only part-time leasing. I eventually went full-time leasing. I quit my other job, or just left my other job, which was in the online poker world, which is a whole other story. But I didn't start doing sales until 2013. And at that point, I was doing a few per year, like 2 to 3, around $1 million in total volume each year. Not really focused on it, just kind of like helping out people that I know, but mainly still focused on leasing. And it came to a point where I had a bad transaction where I feel like I may have made some, mistakes that ultimately didn't really matter, but I just felt kind of lost, and I was like, I need to get some better guidance, because the brokerage I was at didn't give us any, right? We didn't get any guidance. We had a bad split. It was a standard split, 50-50 for your first year or two. As you started getting sales, you could change it, and I think it was like a 70-30. But we got nothing for that. We got no support, no marketing materials, no budgets, nothing. Like, basically, like, insurance, and that was it. So basically what happened was I was just kind of like, all right, I need to make a move. I need to figure this out, right? So I interviewed around a couple brokerages. I was actually going to go with one small brokerage, but then I met with Stephen Natow. He was at Properties at the time, and he's been top producer. He started in, I think, 2007. So he went through the recession. He was doing very well. He had a small team, his Stephen and Ryan team. I knew them through my gym at the time, and I thought, you know what, I'll just go meet with him, even though I was like kind of already set. And when I went to that meeting, I still remember I was like, it was clear as day. This is the move I need to do because I'm like, I'm gonna be learning from someone that really knows their shit, right? And like is killing it, and I need to be a part of this. So to me, it was very clear to make that move, join the team, go to App Properties. I doubled my volume. I did like 2 million that first year on the team, and then I think it was somewhere between like 3 and 4 million the next year. Right, it just kept increasing, and I was taking part in team deals. What's that?
Yeah, that's a really quick progression. Going
Yeah,
from
yeah.
like a
So
lot plateau to starting to get some real momentum.
yeah,
Huge
just
change.
learning a lot, going, being able to shadow someone, and I say that now. Like my advice to like new agents is join a team right away. Don't even try to like do this on your own. You're gonna fail unless you're just, I mean, there are some that make it, but your chances of success are very low in this industry. So you want to find someone that you can mentor, that you could, or that can mentor you, that you can shadow, follow along with everything they do. Work your butt off, work for free if you have to. Like do whatever it takes if you really want to like make it in this. Like I was scared to make that leap to the team because I thought I'm gonna have to rely on sales, and I didn't have enough, in my pipeline essentially to survive on sales. Was worried about the, rental side, but I could still do some leasing and some rentals, and was able to get by because they also had a structure at the time where they would, give a cut for everyone on all listings. So, we shared showing time, duties. You could take vacation, everyone else covers for you. It was a really great setup. There was a lot of like masterminding and all that. Learned a lot. He had an opportunity to become an agent and investor for the Keller Williams office in Lakeview. And while he said he said, you don't have to, or I can't make you go with me, but I'm going to give you the choice of what you want to do. This was like late, I want to say late 2017 because February 2018 is when we officially moved over to Keller Williams. But I remember thinking like this is another big move, and it really was clear on the reason why I was thinking that I joined the team. I didn't join App Properties, right? Like App Properties has a lot of support. They have a lot of great training and all this, but at the end of the day, I joined the team for a reason. So I went over with them, stayed with them for another year and a half, and it was basically came to a point where I'm like, financially, this doesn't make sense for me and my business anymore, and I'm ready to go solo. It was like 3.5 years with the team. Very grateful. We're still close. And so it was basically a financial move to being a solo agent again. And at that point, I think I want to say I was doing probably around 5 million a year. And then that was mid 2019, and then COVID hit, and business kind of like took off, right? Like, it was up to almost 10 million in 2021. This year's already, I mean, last year was kind of a slower year for me, but this year's already record breaking for me, at the end of July, which is great. And then formed my partnership with Liz Jones officially last month. I think June when it was official. I mean, we've been talking about this since November. That's when I first approached her about this, and I know I'm kind of talking a lot about this story and everything, but I just wanted to like the main overall point I'm trying to get at with all of this is that every move I made sense for me and my business. I wasn't chasing anything, right? I was like, how can I grow, or is this the right move for me, right? So like when I came over to Keller, it was the right move for me because I was like, I was staying with the team. When I went solo, I was like, it's the right move. It's the financial decision, right? And I was fine being solo. I always thought maybe I'll, partner with someone someday if the right fit comes along. And honestly, like, didn't really meet a whole lot of agents where I would want to partner with them for various reasons, mainly being that our businesses are very different. We're different stages of our lives, whatever it is. There was never a good fit, but got to know Liz very well last year through our Agent Leadership Council. And, we are the same age. We went to college the same 4 years, didn't know each other then, didn't even meet until 2021. We had a deal together that went very well. And we have basically this kind of same book of business and do about the same volume. So, really kind of fits well. Like she likes to say it's like a yin and yang partnership where I'm more of like the data and analytical side. Like I have a math background. She's more of like the empathy, the working with clients, the client service side. And that's where I probably lack some. So that's great because we both have different roles that we're responsible for with this partnership. And so far, it's been great. We're a lot of building, a lot of rebranding and everything going on, but we're having a lot of fun. And I think that it's going to be, build us up even more, going forward.
Yeah, I wanted to congratulate you on that. I know you guys just had your grand opening party too, which is very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But you touched on a lot of things that I want to like just kind of pick at for a second because
Sure.
I think there were a lot of experiences that you went through that I think the majority of agents probably go through. I also started at a small brokerage and I'm still very close to them. I had a great experience there, but similarly, like we didn't get a lot of, we didn't really get any tools or like a whole lot. They had like Zillow for the whole office, but it was kind of like a round robin situation. It was kind of like all over the place. And in my own experience of just like dealing with small like broker owner businesses, this is not like a plug for big brokerages, but like my worst experiences have always been with small broker owners who've just been like, they've never had accountability. They've been doing it for like 40 years maybe, and
Yeah.
they're just like chugging along. I had one experience. I'm not going to name the guy, but he tried to get me to get a mail order wife from the Philippines because he said they're so loving. Like, I was like, dude, please just stop talking to me. Like, I
Yeah.
can't keep talking to you. It was a terrible experience. But yeah, I think that so many times a lot of young brokers will start looking at like which brokerage is going to help them build a business the most. It's like, it's not like you need to align yourself to people who are doing what you want to do at a higher scale. I'm a huge proponent of modeling. Like I try and identify people that have this success in the way that I want to achieve it,
Yeah.
so that I can kind of like mirror their footsteps. And the partnership that you have with Liz, that's so critical because I think one of the fatal flaws that business owners have is they try too much to hire people just like them. And if you think
Yeah.
of like most entrepreneurs tend to be like the visionary class. And if you put two visionaries together, nothing ever gets done. They have all these great ideas and so many just like spitball on what to do next, but without an integrator or somebody who can actually execute on those plans, everything falls apart. Similarly, I was solo for a while too. I went solo and I did all right for myself, but it got to a point where I was like, I'm drowning and I need a team. So I actually went the reverse way. I joined a team after I got to like, I think I did 6 million last year, 6.5, and I was like, I can't do it all by myself. I need to go to a team because I
Yeah.
need support. So that made that switch. But that's cool. Why don't we talk a little bit about like what caused all that growth? Like what have you been doing that, what were the activities, the day-to-day that helped you gain that initial momentum and still is, propelling you? Because I'm sure you're shooting for hopefully 20 million eventually, right?
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to touch on the one thing you said, which was I thought was very accurate, is the vision and like forming teams and teams coming together and all this stuff. And something I've noticed, and when you ask people that are on teams or part of that started a team, why they did, a lot of times it comes down to I needed showing help. I needed someone to motivate me, or it's very kind of surface reasons that aren't really a good reason for starting a team or starting a partnership. And a lot of them fizzle out because it's not the right fit, right? Like I said, I hadn't come across an agent that I thought would make a good fit for a partnership, and I was like, I'm just fine being solo, that's fine. What made me kind of like decide, because I thought about it for a while last year before I approached Liz with this, was I actually talked with someone in our Keller Williams. He's one of a tech guy that goes around the region, helps out a lot, but he said that he sees a lot of teams, a lot of partnerships, and he's like, those that have the greatest success that he's seen have had a shared vision, right? Like they are forming together for the right reasons, and I think that our shared vision was that, long term, we'd like to form a team that's not reliant on us. Like our name is Revo Residential, which is not our names. We didn't want to put our names on it. We didn't want to say Chicago. We wanted something that was just a brand that people can be a part of. And our goals is basically to like, you know, give better services to our clients. Like we have a transaction coordinator. We are going to have an admin at some point. We're going to have people with their roles that take care of our clients better and also gives us more freedom, time, money down the road. And so that's what we're building towards. Getting back to now what your question was basically like what kind of fueled the growth, like where did I see that? Honestly, I think that the thing that I contribute the growth and the success to most is just being authentic and just being myself. I'm not really like hard, you know, like not the guys that like hitting the phones hard, you know, calling expireds and you know, for sale by owners and all that. Like, don't do that. Like, you know, I mean, not saying to don't do that. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
If that's your thing, great. Some guys kill it at that. Awesome. Whatever you can find, if you can find your niche, you know, getting your leads, getting your clients, go all in on it, right? My thing, I don't really do a whole lot of standard lead gen where it's like, you know, calling people up saying like, who do you know who needs a buy or sell real estate, right? I just maintain relationships, right? Like I like to do fun things to stay involved in my clients' lives, having events, inviting them to them, no pressure. You know, if they don't send me any business, fine, that's whatever. I'm like, I just like to give. That's one thing I like to say is like give with zero expectations. A lot of times in this world, people give with wanting something back, right? If you read a book, there's a couple books that I always recommend. One is The Go-Giver. It's a great book to read on business, about the power of giving, but also like Give and Take is another book that is the same. I think Adam Grant is the author for that one. But basically it goes into like in the world there's like givers, there's takers, and then there's matchers. And matchers are the type that I'll do this for you, but what are you going to do for me in return? You know, or like they expect something. You need to be a giver where you just give to people and you just do things that don't expect anything back in return, and you will see things happen better. You will see your life improve. And I think that's really what it came down to for me. Like when I first started doing sales, most of my clients, I would say 50 to 75% of my clients at the time were from my CrossFit gym. That was, I mean, and that there's no lead gen there, right? It's just me. They're very good about, the CrossFit gyms are very good about community and bringing people together and learning from other people, learning about other people, you know, forming friendships. I mean, the gym I was a part of is called CrossFit Defined. They're up in Lakeview, like East Lakeview now, but they're responsible for several marriages. You know, like people meet and get together, and it's a great community. And so like that was a big part of where I started was that, and then just people I knew in Chicago, friends, some friends from college. You know, it grew from there, but always doing the right thing, always doing best by my clients, you know, talking them out of a place if it's not the right, if I don't think it's the right fit, you know, if I think something's wrong with it, if I think it's a bad buy, you know, that kind of stuff goes a long way, where they realize that you have their best interests at heart, and that's going to beat anything, right? If you treat a client like a one and done, like you make your commission, you're out, you're not going to last very long. Like you have to build relationships. You have to be a part of these people's lives. And it's, you know, that's what makes it fun. Like at the end of the day, if you could just, like we're going to be big on events. Like we did our kickoff event. We're having a Pictures in the Park event at the end of August for clients with kids and everything. Just these things that we can do for them, that makes it a lot more fun. And then, you know, the business will come from that, from these things, but you don't have to put so much pressure on any one individual to deliver, right? It's just putting yourself out there, taking care of other people, and you'll be taken care of as well. So I think that really what it was, like, there was definitely, I mean, I've had some growth over the years. Sometimes some years slower than others, but then there's been some spurts But I think that that's really what it comes down to, is just doing the right thing.
So it's funny you say that because like that's kind of the way that I really focus on building my business too. I was listening or maybe reading something recently talking about how, especially since COVID, but are you considered a millennial?
Or in my what?
Are you a millennial?
A millennial?
Yeah.
Yeah, I turned 40
Okay.
in September, so.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this. Yeah. So I'm at the tail end of it, but I was reading about how like millennials and then whatever the next generation is, I think it's called Gen Z. But for the most part, have really struggled to learn how to build relationships with people. And the point of what I was reading was that relationship building has become and will further become one of the most important skill sets to have,
Mhm.
especially like as people start losing, jobs to AI and the computer takeover and all that stuff. The point of what I was reading was that that particular skill set, the ability to connect with somebody, to form a true like relationship with them, will just become invaluable over time. And it's
Yeah.
already invaluable. And it's been invaluable to your business. It's really what I focus my business on because I too am not like gonna sit at my computer all day and just like bang the phones. Like my partner does that. That's all he does. He does really
Yeah.
well for himself. Like he does like $30 million a year every year, and that's all he does. It works, but it's just not me, and it doesn't
Right.
feel authentic to me. And when I do it, I'm pretty good at it, but I just don't. It doesn't sit well with me.
Right.
So
And
I've
that's
gone other ways.
that's the thing about, like, building a business. Like, build the business that you want. It's tough when you're starting out to find those leads, and for the newer agents, it's a struggle. Like, I came in a different way where I really like slowly, waded into the water, part-time leasing, full-time leasing, part-time, or doing a mix of both. And then now it's like I barely do any rentals. It's kind of like I do some to help out if I get, leads from friends or past clients or whatnot. Sure. But, I was back in the days of Craigslist where you're just posting on Craigslist all day and then you get these leads, and some of those have become lifelong clients and friends, and that's awesome. And I think that just speaks to the power of like being about relationships. But if you want to, if you're good at on the phone and you can do that and you pound the phones all day and you call in, whatever, great, do it. Whatever speaks to you, but you have to find what works for you, and it has to be a success. Like you can't say like, oh, I'm going to be all on social media and then do a poor job of it. You might be posting, but if it's like not interesting or if people aren't, interacting with it, well, if you don't get the business from it, then you're not going to last either. So you have to find the things that work, but also that you enjoy, and then just go all in on them. Like we talk at Keller Williams, we have our 135, which is our GPS. I don't know if people are familiar with it, but basically you come up with your one goal and then your three priorities. That's the goal, priority, strategies. The three priorities are like, what are the three things you want to build your business on, like your pillars, right? That it could be whatever, what you want. And I'm basically, mine are just events, social media, and with the people in my circle, my sphere of influence. Like that's it. Like I don't do. I might try some, random stuff every once in a while. Like I've done a couple times over the last year, open houses where I just dropped off flyers and just go door to door, and not something I'm comfortable doing. But in these cases, I was like, you know what? I bet you a neighbor is going to want this place, or for someone they know. And so it's something of value, right? You're giving something of value to people. You're not bugging them. You're like, hey, this one's coming up for sale. You probably have a friend or family that wants to live near you. Let them know, give me a call, whatever. They appreciate that. No one's slamming the door in your face on those. So I think if you come from a place of contribution, and it goes back to the giving, any strategy can work. But you just got to find what works for you.
Dude, I could not agree more. I was so at EXP we have a mentor program, and I am a mentor. So like when a new agent comes on, if they haven't done a certain amount of volume, they have to go into the mentor program.
Yeah.
So I talked to a woman yesterday, and it looks like I will be her new mentor. But I was like, so tell me about your experience. She's like, yeah, I've been in it for like 7 years, but I've never had like any real success. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Like, what have you been doing? And she is like, well, I did a little bit of this and a little that. I tried this for a little while, then I did a little
Yeah.
bit of that. And I was like, to be honest with you, I get it, because when I started out, but one of the jokes that I make is that I have basically done at least one deal from pretty much any source you could think of. The only source I have not done a deal from is technically door knocking. But like Facebook leads,
Yeah.
done a deal.
I think.
Cold calling, done a deal. Zillow, got it. Opcity, done it.
Yeah.
Open houses, got it. Online forums, done it. Social media, plenty of them. Like whatever you
Yeah.
can think of, like I've done it all because like I was the guy who chased every single bunny, you know. And only recently have I been like, okay, we need to crowd out all this noise. I need to figure out like what works the absolute best and go in. And for me, that was just like getting better relationships with people. I started doing meetups every month for real estate investors. Like, I'm hoping this is going to be a good way for me to learn from other people that are further along in their career than I am and take some of those things too. So, only recently have I been like, I need to put the blinders on and
Go
move
all in.
forward.
So I teach a couple classes every once in a while at our office. Like a lot of agents, they give back by teaching. And one of the classes I did, I went over like my previous 10 closings, and I went over each of those clients, where they came from, and that's really eye opening for someone that maybe is newer to the business, or just in general, like maybe they get a lot of their business from one source and they didn't realize like, oh wow, like they come from wherever. I make the joke like you never know where your next lead is coming from. Like I literally this morning had a friend from grad school reach out. We talk every once in a while, but he has a friend that their place has been on the market for 60 days and not selling, and he's gonna put me in touch with the owner about getting the listing, and that's great. But that's the power of just kind of you don't want to spread yourself too thin. But I like to think of the analogies of like you're planting seeds that will eventually grow, right? And I feel like that I've lived my life in a way that I give back a lot, or I care about other people. I do the right thing, and it shows. Like, I've had listings and clients this year that go back 20 plus years, right? Like our relationships go back to college or before. And so I think, kind of lose my train of thought, but that's the kind of power of just putting yourself out there in a lot of different ways and being patient. The planting the seeds, but also the Ryan Serhant. He talks about juggling balls and throwing balls in the air and like not letting them drop, and like following up with people, and basically like the following up is grabbing the ball and throwing it back up in the air. And sometimes you have to like throw it way up in the air, and like you have a lot of balls in the air, and eventually like you're going to close deals with it. So don't put too much pressure on like one source, one client, whatever.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up Ryan Serhant. When I was talking about modeling, like he's definitely like one of those people that I look at and I think like, how did he do it? How can I figure out a way to replicate some of that success?
Yeah.
And for me, one of the big pushes that I have this year is YouTube. And that's a factor of looking at some of the highest producing agents that I know. Like Ryan Serhant, obviously he's a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
So let's remove him from the equation. But like a lot of other really high producers that I know, and some of the highest producers, even within our own brokerage, all of them, regardless of where they're from, they did through YouTube. There's a guy in Texas. His name is Levi Lasik. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
But and there's a disclaimer too. I think that people do better in this business if they have a sales background, and Levi had a sales background, so this was not just like jumping into the deep end. But he was a brand new agent, and in 2020, all from YouTube, he did like 30 million. I think he's already doing I think he broke $100 million. All he does is YouTube.
Wow.
And he's been in the business for like 3 years, and it's just like, but there's a lot of examples like that all over the country, and it's like, okay, well, what are these people doing that is working so well for them and not for other people? A lot of times it comes down to consistency, right? And one of the things that people don't give enough weight to is the volume of activity that they need to do to see results.
Yeah.
And I follow a company called Think Media. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Think Media is a really great they have a podcast, they have a YouTube channel, but they're a really great platform to learn how to grow a podcast, a YouTube channel, like any sort of social media thing, and like that's their focus. And they were talking about something, and they were like, you know, if you need to get to 10,000 views and you find that your videos are only getting about 200 views a video, well, you just got to post way more videos. Like, you can't wait for that video to get 10,000 views. You just have to post a ton more.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to like how much volume is needed to like hit that escape velocity. And every now and then, like, one of those videos will go viral. And with all the examples that I could think of, it took like one moment for something to really click and connect. Even Ryan Serhant, he was basically doing nothing until things really started to click for him.
Right.
And,
I like to think back with, like, because I've read his book several times, and he started out similar way to me. Like, he started out, you know, a few years earlier, but posting.
You were a hand model?
No, not a hand model. But he would post apartments on Craigslist and sell them, and like he made like nothing his first year, right? Like, I did okay my first year because I was only doing it part time, and I had another job in the poker world. But you know, I just look at what he's done since then. I'm like, it really, I mean, anyone can do it if you want to put in that volume, put in that time. I mean, like I say, like, my growth has been good, steady, but I'll be a little slow, you know, in my opinion. Like, I've been in this for 10 years plus now, like 10 years of sales. You know, I wish I was a little bit further ahead, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm happy with the amount of production I'm doing. And I'm just kind of shifting into a role that is a new challenge. That'll be fun, and it'll kind of like spice things up again. And that's great. I think every few years you kind of need that. If you're getting stagnant, or you're just, not that I was getting stagnant, but like I said, the moves I made were purposeful and a very strong reason behind them. And I think that every move I've made has been so great for my career and just brought me to a new level at each time. So very confident with those moves.
Yeah, I could see, I mean, I see what you do. I think you're going to do great things. And one of the things that I don't really believe in stagnancy, whatever the proper
proper noun is for it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't think that anyone can actually be stagnant. One of the things that Tony Robbins says is you're either growing or you're dying, and nothing is constant in life. So
Right.
I always think about, like, especially now, you know, there's all these changes with the NAR about buyers and stuff like that. So it even becomes more important to get listings. So lately, what I've been thinking about, like, every day I wake up and I'm like, okay, what can I do today to get me closer to more listing opportunities? Because personally, I think in the future, buyers are going to be a lot harder to work with. That's just you know, if I had to make a gamble, you're a better gambler than I am, but
I think the buyers, it's tough. Like, I've been fortunate this year where I've been mostly listings, or if I'm on the buy side, it's not as competitive for the most part. I do have some buyers where we're in the trenches of, like, there's just so much competition. Like, been in multiple situations this year of multiple offers of 12 to 24, I think was the biggest one, you know, offers for one place. And I'm like, guys, like, you know, we could do everything, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to money. Like, you know, you can say what you want about multiple offer situations, but like, I had my own on a listing in Archer Heights, just closed 2 weeks ago. Ended up having 7 offers on it. 2 were cash. We chose one that was cash that was $15,000 under list, even though these other ones were 5% down and coming over list. She's like, I want the done deal. I don't care. Let's close it. You know, I'm like, all right, you want to do highest and best? She's like, nope. Let's go with that cash deal that can close. They waived the inspection, which was good because the thing was falling apart. But
it was a rehab though, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it was a rehab, but like, you know, we run the risk of someone with 5% down coming through and like the inspection just like ask for the world. Or like now the appraisers are like flagging it because, you know, they are calling out safety violations and stuff. I'm like, listen, this staircase is not going to pass. You know, this place definitely has lead paint, possibly has asbestos, and possibly has mold. We're not passing any sort of tests, right? So we need a cash deal. And we had 2 of those, and this one was the higher, so, you know, we went with that. But you know, it's super competitive for buyers in the entry level, and it's tough. It's really tough, and I feel for my clients that are trying their best. We're trying to do everything we can. We're going over a list. We're doing lease backs. We're doing whatever we can, but it's much better to be on the listing side this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, one of my goals this year, and then we'll wrap this conversation up soon. One of my goals this year, I have my 2023 goals right here. I don't think I'm going to hit all of them, but one of them that I had was 75% of my volume be from list side, and so far I am on track for that.
Nice.
Thank God.
So if you get a buyer at the end of the year and it would put you under, you decline them?
Yeah, so you're gonna have to wait.
Oh, that's gonna bring me down to 73%. No thanks.
You're gonna have to wait until January.
You refer it out.
No, but it's funny. What I have a buyer that we're closing. I guess in about a week and a half. It was their third offer. They had lost out on multiple offers every single time. This one was a multiple offer. They thankfully won it. We have to do a lease back for them, for the sellers, because they're buying their own place, and it makes it difficult. It's like in this past year, the best luck I've had were selling investment properties that were already vacant, or were just being taken over with tenants in place.
Right.
Because when you have to sell something with a owner occupant, they gotta find somewhere, and sometimes that's challenging.
Yeah.
So I have a friend in Florida, and he's got some buyers who are looking to buy down in Florida from Chicagoland, and he was like, yeah, once they find something, they're going to sell their place. I think it's in Tinley Park or something. He's like, I want to refer them to you. I'm like, sweet. When are they going to find a place? He's like, that's the $1 million question. It's been a year already, so they're still looking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You got to tell people, it'll get better at some point, but that entry level, what I'm telling people too is really it all comes down to supply and demand, and the rates increasing, whatnot. Say what you want about rates, but as long as the demand is still there, what I think happened was everyone shifted their expectations. So if you were looking in the 500 to 600 range, maybe now you scaled it back a little bit, or maybe you're like, we don't need 3 bedrooms, we can get by with 2 beds, or maybe a 2-bed, a large 2-bed that's in the same price point. So they're making these adjustments, but a lot of people have to shift down, and so some people that maybe were looking a little bit higher have shifted to that entry level, the 300 for in Chicago, the 250 to 350 range. It's just killer, and I think that's not only the people that are trying to get in to home ownership, but those that were a little bit above that range coming down because of the rates. It's just caused this massive just rush. It's tough.
It's interesting you say that, because I actually feel like people have not shifted their expectations. So if maybe in 2021 they thought to themselves, yeah, I think I want to buy soon, and 2022 comes, rates start increasing, they pause a little bit. Now we're in 2023, they're still looking at that same $500,000 range, but they're not getting as much house for the same budget they had initially expected. And I feel like people have not shifted their expectations yet.
Well, so you're saying they haven't realized that yet?
Maybe I didn't understand you, because from my own anecdotal experience, people who may have been looking at $500,000 when rates were below 4% are still looking at that $500,000, but just say, no, it's not worth it because X, Y, Z. Maybe it's not worth it. Someone's going to buy it, so it's clearly worth it. But I feel that most consumers have not adjusted expectations. I think it's a hard pill to swallow for someone to say, I was going to buy that house, but now I can only afford that house, which is not as nice.
Right.
I don't think people have made that adjustment yet.
So I think when I mean the shifting and the expectations, it's not just what house you can buy, what not. It's neighborhoods you're looking in. It is price.
Oh, yeah.
You're making a shift in your search, right? I've had clients looking from 2 beds to 1+ den, or looking for 3 beds to 2+ den, or maybe a 2-bed that they can turn into a 3-bed, right? Stuff like that, or they're looking outwards more. I'm a perfect example of this too. When my wife and I bought the place we're in now, we bought in 2020. We were originally looking in Lakeview, Lincoln Park for 2 to 3 bedrooms, and then we came out to Roscoe Village and we're like, oh shoot, we can get a 3+ den for less. Why not? And now we're looking again, and we're looking out further, Old Irving Park, for like a home because like, well, look how much space we can get for the price and like with rates where they're at. So like, where my dream was always to have like a single family home in Lincoln Park one day, but I'm like, yeah, kind of like having more money in my pocket.
Yeah.
And with rates where they're at, we've shifted to being okay with, being further out from the city center. So that's kind of what I mean. It's like, it might not be like we might be in the same price point, but we're like, well, if we're going to pay this much, then I want
Okay.
more somewhere in a different neighborhood.
That I completely agree with.
Yeah.
We too are a perfect example of that. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that's why you're seeing areas like the far suburbs, like way the hell out there, like the way far suburbs, like even further than Aurora, like further than like Yorkville and far southwest. Like I think people are moving to those areas for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Because you get more, you just get more. And if you're not committed, especially like if you don't have kids and you're like, where are my kids going to grow up? Well, if I have like, $400,000, say, I could either get like a small apartment in Lakeview or I could get a massive house way out here. So,
Right.
I completely agree with you.
We're in
All
a
right, let's
shift.
wrap this up and then, what's up?
Yeah, I was just one last thing I was to say. Like, we're in a shift. The market is going to do what the market's going to do. Like, we can't control it. We can't, the government, whoever tries to make changes to fix things, at the end of the day, the market's going to win. We saw that in '08. Like, you can try to push things as far as it can go. The market's going to win. Right now, things are shifting. People are changing. It's going to shake itself out eventually, but it might be a few years.
Well, it's kind of interesting because COVID caused a pretty significant migration around the country.
Yeah.
People were shuffling around. But I also think that the high interest rates are causing the same thing to happen. You're already seeing like pockets of areas that are really in high demand, and other pockets just they can't get any traction.
Right.
And that's an indication of migration. A lot of people want to move in a certain area. Not a lot of people want to move in another area. Okay, let's wrap this up in the next few minutes. I want to ask you one last question. If you were to give one piece of advice to an agent struggling, maybe someone under the 2 million to 3 million range that's just trying to break out, what would you tell them?
Go join a team. And if you're on a team and you're struggling, then you're on the wrong team, right? Go learn from someone with experience. Like, I always quote that one stat, 87% of agents fail in the first 5 years, right? Do you want to be part of that stat, or do you want to be part of the 10%, 13% that makes it? It's not easy. A lot of people think it's easy. It's not, right? You get into this industry thinking that, oh yeah, like everyone's going to want, no one wants to work with a new agent, or if they do, they're doing it as like kind of a pity thing, or, giving you a shot, whatnot. But this is the largest purchase of people's lives, right? They need a trusted professional. I honestly think that there's way too many agents in the industry as it is, and I'm not saying that there shouldn't be. Like, if you want to go for it, great, but I think that the classes need to be harder and the fees need to be higher. We need to like discourage, but that's a whole other discussion about like associations wanting to, they're a business, they're trying to make money, so they like having lots of people take all the classes, paying all the fees, and then filtering out eventually. So you have to fight against that. And if you are struggling, find a team, whatever split they are giving you. I mean, try to do, get a fair share. You have to live, but I would say spend 2 years suffering. Don't take time off if you can. Work those open houses, do whatever you have to do to fight and get over that hill. I like the image of Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill eternally, and that's what it feels like when you're starting in this business. You're continually pushing a rock up a hill. If you let off, you're going to start all over. Once you get to a certain point, like a plateau, you can rest, and then you're going to just basically go up another hill again, and I've definitely seen that in my career. If you look at my actual like production, there's these growth parts and these plateaus. There's growth and plateaus, and I know that when I'm in a plateau, I need a change, and like I feel like I've done those changes to kind of get to that next level. It's constantly pushing upward. So find someone, find a team, just watch everything they do, listen to the conversations they have, get in your office, talk to other agents, learn from others. That's going to be your, don't try to wing it. Don't wing it. Trust me.
I mean, it was a bad move. It
Yeah,
was
it's a bad
exhausting.
move.
It was an exhausting move.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that I want to say real quick. I heard something, maybe like on Broke Agent Media or something like that. I forget who said it, but they basically said most agents get in the business and do exactly what everyone else is doing, which is dumb as hell because most agents don't make any money.
Yep.
So it's like, why would you do what everyone else is doing?
That comes back to my first point about like the authenticity, right? Like,
Yeah.
no offense, but like you don't have to like dress up in a suit, despite what some agents may say. Yeah, right. Like, and people are gonna resonate with people that are like them. That you're gonna attract the people that are gonna want to work with you. If you're yourself, if you're trying to be someone you're not, you're gonna burn out. You're not gonna attract those people. Like one of the things I think I've done really well is the humor on social media. Like, yeah, like I enjoy doing that, and people love it. I mean, they comment, that's just me being me, and I'm like, you know what, you can say these things don't look professional or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, I'm maintaining and having these relationships with people. They enjoy it. I bring joy to their life. That's great. It does lead to business, and so that works for me. I don't need to be number one agent. I don't care, right? I want to live a good life, and building around that, building the right people, having the right people around that, doing things my way. That's kind of what it's all about. That's kind of like the dream, the end goal. So I feel like I'm well on my way to that.
I think so too. I mean, I think forming your team was definitely like a really large leap in the right direction.
Yeah.
And naming it Revo rather than, the Andy Hasdal team, like so many other high producers.
Well, yeah.
Building something that you could turn into a business that you could one day walk away from. And
not necessarily walk away, but just being like, our goals is that we want to focus on the roles that we want to do most,
yeah.
right? Like, and just do what we do best and leverage out the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't want to be like, I want to make sure that the steps I'm taking on a day-to-day basis lead me to become more of like the operator role of my business rather than an employee of my business. Because right now I'm an employee of my business, and so too are 99% of the agents in the world. So I want to make sure that the steps that I'm taking are leading me closer to that operator role, so that one day, like, I can take a vacation. I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. And like,
you need to take a vacation.
I'm going to Greece in September. So.
I think that EXP and KW both kind of teach that, like, how to build a business, how to build these roles where you can do this stuff. Like other brokers are not doing that, right? And that's I say I stay at KW because, like, listen, you can build your own brand and you can make more money. And I'm sure EXP, it's kind of very similar, similar things. So one other thing I was going to mention too that I forgot to earlier was that, the vision, we talked about having your vision about what you want to build, and the partnership thing. I feel like what works so well is that I'm the visionary and Liz is the executor. Like, she can, take action on things, and I think that comes from being a mom, and like she has no choice to get stuff done, right? And so I've noticed that, like, working together, I'm like, she gets stuff done, but I'm very much the one that's like the vision of like where we're headed, and I think that's great. I love that, and that's always been kind of my my role is very focused on goals and where I'm headed. So looking forward to it.
Every business needs a visionary. I'm the visionary in my business. Like, I have like hundreds of ideas in this notebook of things that I want to do. But if it wasn't for like our operations team and like our marketing team, like none of it would ever get done. I know that for sure.
I know.
Because I need to like in my head I can see it so clearly, right?
Right.
Clear as day.
Yep.
But then try and like put it on paper and explain it to somebody is an insurmountable task.
I know.
And then once I can get it down, like, I need somebody to like put all the pieces together, because it's like it's clear up here, but then I like vomit it out and it's a mess.
Yep.
So
I know. But that's why you surround yourself with the right people too. Like,
I mean, you gotta surround yourself with people that compliment you, and I think that's one of the most important lessons that any business owner in any industry, any business owner can learn, that they need to surround themselves with people that fill in their weak points. And if you have enough self-awareness to know like where your shortcomings are, you're going to go really far.
Right.
Because no one can do everything. No one is you know,
Superman.
I mean, like there are a lot of jack of all trades, but master of none type of thing. But no one's like a master of all trades.
No. Learn what you do best, leverage out the rest.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, Andy. Thank you so much for jumping on our podcast today. I'm sure you're going to be a recurring guest. I'm sure probably not a lot of people are going to watch this video, but I'm glad that we had this conversation.
You always got to start from somewhere, right? You always start from somewhere.
Yeah,
Happy to be a part of it. Good stuff.
And one of the things that I was going to say earlier, but I forgot to, you had said you want to just, one of the goals of your team is just to make sure that you guys are delivering like excellent client service. And like that's really one of the objectives of this podcast series, of interviewing people who are doing really well in their business, because I want to raise the bar of as many agents as we can, because there are too many incompetent agents in this business. And if this could just help like one person get a little bit better at what they do, or realize that they need to focus on their relationships just a little bit more, that's a win for me. And I took a lot from this conversation too. So
good stuff.
Thank you, man.
No, it was really good, and I think you just put in the time and make it snazzy and everything, and you get some people. It just like I said, everyone starts from step one or ground zero or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. You gotta start from somewhere.
All right, before you jump off, hold on
Sure.
1 second. I'm gonna stop recording.